Hey there, Misfits. It's time for another first look at an RPG, and this time we're going to look at probably the hottest property on the planet right now, Dune. And this is the RPG for Dune, Dune Adventures in the Imperium. It's by Modifius Games, and it is a hot one right now. And if you are like Sir Mix-a-Lot and you like them thick, this is the game for you. First of all, this starts off telling you the history of humanity from when we first shuffled off the Earth and started creating satellites in space, all the way to some 20,000 years or however many Dune is set in the future. You can learn more than you ever wanted to know about the Dune universe. I myself only read the first book and enjoyed the movies. And oh my goodness gracious, it is insane how much backstory they give you in this role-playing game. And I'm one to love a good role-playing game that has a lot of backstory. I've bought many a source book of crappy RPGs because I learned every little detail about that universe. I bought the Red Dwarf role-playing game, for God's sake, because I wanted to learn more about the Jupiter Mining Corporation. Well, this is deep and it is thick. Everything about this game is in depth. If you like a light role-playing game, don't get this game. If you love intrigue, if you love levels, if you love backstory, if you love every single grain of sand that Arrakis has, buy this game because you are in for a treat. Now, the Dune role-playing game is based on the 2D20 system. Now, Modifius used this in the Star Trek role-playing game as well, so if you're familiar with that game, you're familiar with the mechanics of the Dune role-playing game. It's a little different than your normal D&D rolling for any kind of success in this game because it's backwards. A 1 is a crit, and a 20 is bad. And basically, when you come up with a score for what you're trying to roll, it's based on your skills and your attributes. Those numbers add up, and let's say your skills and attributes add up to 16, you've got to roll 16 or under to do a success. You also can add extra successes based on your momentum and difficulty levels, things like that. And then if you get extra successes in your test, then you get to move those forward into a pool that's a momentum pool that your whole party can get different kinds of bonuses from for their roles and things like that. It keeps the momentum, basically, that's why they call it that, of a party moving forward. Now, that is how you play the game. But basically, if you've got a group together to play Dune, first thing you do is you create a house. Now, it can be a minor house, it can be a major house. It depends on what works best for the group. This game is set right before the events of the movie, which is basically Paul Atreides' rebellion against the whole universe. So your particular house can basically be part of the whole overall scheme of things, trying to get more control over parts of Arrakis, or you can ally yourself with Atreides, or you can ally yourself with Harkonnens, or your GM will come up with how your motivations of your house work into the overall whole. And when you create your house, you also create things like your house rivals, and you create a whole other house that is your complete rival. And it can be something where they're a shipping rival, or they're just somebody who, was against your house a long time ago. It really is up to the party to determine the attributes of their house, which is a little different than normal role-playing games, because that's kind of a first step where you're all working together to create your house and your ambitions and how you fit into the overall whole. And then when you go to create your actual characters, you're figuring out how your character fits into your house structure. Are they the doctor? Are they the swordsman? Are they a diplomat or a spy? Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics of how you create your character and how you determine all of your traits and skills and such, but your character is a mix of your traits, skills, your drives, your ambitions. Let's say your drive is that you are loyal to the house above all than if you're in a role-playing situation where that would give you a bonus. You would get extra dice to do your tests, and that adds a lot of flavor to your character and how they fit into the overall universe. Like I said, this game is very deep, and there's lots of role-playing elements to it, especially in how you create your character and even things that you give your character, which are called assets. It could be as simple as having a crysknife or a spy network on a certain planet. And like I said before, this game has depth. It has levels. There are 5 different kinds of conflicts in this game. And I've never seen a game that's had that many types of conflict in it. The 5 different types of conflict are dueling, skirmishes, warfare, espionage, and intrigue. And let me go into each one of these separately because they're very unique as opposed to like a normal role-playing game. Dueling is one-on-one combat with somebody. And there is mechanics where you decide to block a certain zone or attack a certain zone. And all of that is a whole conflict that is just on a one-to-one duel. But then you've got bigger areas of combat with multiple people, which are the skirmishes. Skirmishes tend to be more party combat, like the different players in the party versus a bunch of other players. That's your normal kind of combat that you're used to in like a D&D party. But then they have warfare, which is armies versus armies, or platoons and freedom fighters, a group of Fremen versus a group of Sardaukar, you know, that big scale combat where you can direct the armies. And if combat isn't even what you're looking for in a particular part of the game, you've got espionage, which is spying, which is, you know, infiltrating somewhere. That's its whole other kind of combat. And then the 5th one is intrigue, which is, they call it social warfare in this game. And it's very much that, like a court of nobles, and you're negotiating, and you're learning secrets about somebody that you're using to leverage against somebody else. It's very, very complicated, but very, very versatile. And based on what your play styles are going to be, you could play all 5 different types of combat, and it's up to a really talented DM to figure out how to make all that work. And honestly, in my first impression of this game, I can't figure out how to make it all work. I could not run this game. I tell you that right now. If you are a casual player, if you like a game where you're joking around with your friends, if you're like a game where you do some absurd things, do not pick up Dune. It is so serious. I mean, I can't think of a time I laughed watching the movies or reading the books. This is very much that same tone. This is Dune. This is knee-deep in the sand in the middle of Arrakis, trying to overthrow the whole empire. That's this game. And if you love that kind of deep, serious, heavy role-playing game with lots of options and lots of combat and lots of intrigue and spying, if you love that type of thing, run out and get this thing, or go online and order it. They've got lots of great packages. They even have, if you're a fan of Harkonnen, they've got a Harkonnen covered book. They've got a, with all the beautiful art. The art, oh my God, I didn't even go into that. The art in this game is amazing. They have done a fantastic job on this game. I can't say more for a source book. It's just, wow. I can't say anything more about how well made this game is, how much information you will get on the Dune universe from this game. It's worth it to buy this puppy just to learn more about Dune. So if you want to learn everything ever about Dune, get this game. You can look down in the comments. We're going to have a link down there to Modifius Entertainment. Highly recommend this for a deep read of the game. And who knows, if you got a really good GM, you might have a lot of fun playing this. I know I can't do it. So until next time, thanks for joining us on Tabletop Misfits, and keep gaming.